everyone, I just wanted to quickly give you a quick video on how to complete your level 2 instruct engine based exercise program card to make sure that you are going to meet all the criteria that we need to. So really nice and simple, guys. First we've got a warm-up with some dynamic stretches. We've got a main CV component. We've got 4 resistance machine exercises, we've got 4 free weight exercises, and we've got space for 3 body weight and or abdominal exercises. Then on the last page we've got cool down and flexibility and our post-workout stroke static stretches. And then on the last page we just got to do our little special populations program card to show how we're going to adapt some exercises for young people, older adults, and anti and postnatal women. So to start with, guys, we are just going to plug in some notes on the warm-up. So things to note before we start is I need to see you plan and deliver at least 3 different pieces of cardiovascular machinery. So in the back of your instructing workbook, you have got a nice list of all the exercises that we are allowed to use on your level 2. When we get to your level 3, the gloves come off a little bit and you have a little bit more freedom. But guys, we can use for our CV either the upright bike, the treadmill, the rowing machine, or the elliptical or cross training, because obviously they are the only ones that we've got in the gym. So I might sort of say, right, well, for my warm-up, I want a nice piece of low impact, full body CV kit. So we're going to use the cross trainer. Now I'm just going to plan 5 minutes total duration for my warm-up. For my intensity, we want to use the RPE scale, which is a scale of 1 to 10. To gauge how hard you are going to be working, and we're just going to nice and simply go from a 3 to a 5 out of 10 on that scale. Now if the rowing cross trainer is broken, is busy, I need to plan an alternative, so I am just going to go for a rowing machine in here. Now to make it harder, nice and simple, I'm just going to increase the time, so we might go from 5 minutes to a 10-minute warm-up. And to make it a bit easier, if my client is really struggling, I'm just going to decrease the time. Now in teaching points, if you look in the instruct engine based exercise manual, you will find that there is lots of teaching points in there. But we are just, hopefully, if it's going to let me, no, it's not going to let me drag my point across. I might say something like 3 points of contact getting on and off. I might say something like a nice neutral spine, core engaged, and I might say something like heel toe action. We want our client to strike with the heel and then come up onto their toes. Okay, so for our dynamic stretches, guys, I've been through a range of dynamic stretches. However, there are some links in to some videos online for you as well. But as I've said before, guys, we're either going to start at the top and work down, or we're going to work down from the bottom and we're going to work up. So I'm going to start with our calves. We are then going to move up to our hamstrings. We are then going to go to our quadriceps. We might even do our adductors as well. We may then move to our upper body, and we might do our pectorals and our trapezius. So you then just draw a nice little diagram in here. Now for our reps, we could do slightly different. Reps for each exercise, but we're nice and simply just going to do 10 to 12 reps for each of our stretches here. Now for our intensity, we're going to use the RPE scale again, and we're just going to go for a 4 to 6 on the RPE scale. So I always say if 10 feels like your leg's going to snap off, we want to be roughly halfway. Okay, so what is an alternative to a dynamic stretch? So say if our client can't do a dynamic stretch for whatever reason, we're just going to do a static stretch. And again, that is going to be the same all the way down for these. Now our progression, if I wanted to make a stretch harder, we could do increase the range of motion. So that is increasing how far we are stretching. Now we can often just abbreviate that to the letters ROM. And again, we can just say the same thing all the way down. We might do more reps. We might do a slightly more challenging stretch. But nice and simple, increase range of motion. So if that's our increase rate, well, progression rather, to make it easier in a regression, we could nice and simply say something like decrease range of motion, but I'm just going to make it a little bit different. So I'm not going to say decrease repetitions. I might say decrease the intensity. If I could spell would be great. Okay, cool. And then again, a couple of teaching points for each one of our exercises. So I would say something like weight on back leg, chest up, and heel down, because it's going to be our sort of step back calf stretch. For our hamstrings, it's going to be our leg swing, so we might support on wall. Nice relaxed action. Breathe, and we might also say something like toes forward to make sure that we're not getting a stretch into our adductors when we're trying to stretch our quadriceps. So again, I'm just going to pop some simple ones in here. But I'd say at least 2 in each of these guys. So obviously it's taking me literally 5 minutes to do. We are then going to go into our main CV component. So for the main CV, so look, I've already used the cross trainer. So now I need to use something different. So I'm going to use my personal favorite is the rowing machine. Now, we are going to plan, due to our ACSM guidelines, a minimum of 20 minutes. And we're going to go for a sort of moderate to high intensity session. So this is about a 5 to a 7 on that RPE scale. Now, if you wanted to, you might also say that that's 70 to 80% maximum heart rate. This is what's called the aerobic fitness zone, which you could also put in there. Just going to try and keep it on one page here. Something strange is going on, but that's fine. Okay, so an alternative to the rowing machine, we might use the treadmill. That's absolutely fine. We could, to progress it, nice and simple again, increase the time. To regress, we could just decrease the time. So to make it easier, if our client is struggling to run for 10 minutes, nice and easily, we could just get them to run for 15 minutes. Again, a couple of nice teaching points in here. So rowing machine, we might say legs, arms, arms, legs, neutral spine. Okay, again, you guys have all planned out lots of good teaching points in your workbooks already. Okay, so now we get on to our resistance and free weight exercises. Now, we're going to do free weights first. So the first exercise we have to plug in is going to be our barbell deadlift. So you might just say, right, barbell. And the other one we're going to have to do is a bench press. And again, that's going to be with a barbell. Okay, so then what you need to do is we need to choose a set and rep scheme that is going to be appropriate for our client. So a really classic one is going to be training for hypertrophy. So that's going to be somewhere in the region of 8 to 12 repetitions. So I'm just going to go in the middle of that. So we're going to go 3 sets of 10 reps, and then I'm going to give my client 60 seconds to recover between rounds. Now, we could do slightly different sets and rep schemes dependent on the exercise, but to make things really nice and easy, we're just going to copy and paste that all the way down. If you're really clever, you could, even if you're using the computer, you could also just merge these columns together. Right, so if we are using hypertrophy, we want to be doing 3 sets of 8 to 12 repetitions, somewhere in the region of 67 to 80% of your 1 rep max. So I'm going to go 65 to 70% 1 RM, or if you wanted to, you could use your 6 to 7 on that RPE scale. So again, for my program, all of our exercises are going to be the same. So we can just copy that all the way down. Doesn't matter whether it's resistance machine or a free weight exercise. Done. Okay, so now comes the bit where you need to apply your knowledge. So we need to think about what muscle group this exercise works and what muscle groups this exercise works. And we need to make sure that we are planning a good, balanced program. So we have already got, if I highlight the ones that we've got already, so we've already got a bench press. We have already got our deadlift. So what we now need to do, so we've got a hamstring exercise and we've got a chest exercise. So we now need to kind of balance these across. So I might think, well, look, I've got a hamstring glute exercise. I would like to put in a nice quadricep exercise. So the first one we're going to choose is going to be a leg press. So he can go in there. So now leg press, so quadriceps, hamstrings. Okay, good. The next one that I might look at is, well, okay, well, I've got a bench press, so I want a back exercise. So I might go for a seated row. Okay, well, now I want a shoulder exercise, so I might go for a seated shoulder press. So now I've got legs, chest, back, shoulders. Well, okay, well, maybe I'll plug in a biceps curl, and maybe I'll plug in a triceps push down. Okay, so now I've got all 4 of my resistance machine exercises, and I've only got 3 free weight exercises. So okay, so I want one more. Always good to do more back exercises, so we're going to go for a dumbbell row. Now I appreciate you guys might not know all of these exercises or all the ones on our list. YouTube is really good for these guys, but also remember that we haven't got all of these machines in the gym, so make sure that you are choosing ones that we have down in the lab. All right. So now I need to use an alternative for each of my exercises. So an alternative is just another exercise that works the same muscle group. It doesn't have to be a resistance machine for the resistance machines, doesn't have to be a free weight for the free weights. So I might just go leg extension here. You could also use a lunge, you could use a body weight squat. Okay, so seated row, well, that works my upper back, my trapezius, my latissimus dorsi. So I might go for a lat pull down. Again, even though I have done resistance machines here, they don't have to be. So for my seated shoulder press, I might do a dumbbell shoulder press. And for my triceps push down, I might do an overhead tricep press. Okay, for my deadlift's primarily going to work the hamstrings. I will give you a mark for a squat. It's not the truest alternative. I would normally go for a leg curl, but again, it's not the greatest either, so we could have any one of those. Another exercise that works the chest might be a seated chest press. Another exercise that works the biceps would be a low pulley curl, and another exercise instead of my dumbbell row could be a seated row, even though we've already given that. We don't have to give 8 completely different exercises. That's totally fine. So progressions, again, lots of options here. We could increase the sets, we could increase the reps, we could increase the intensity. We can also increase what's called the time under tension, which is going slower to increase the time that it takes to complete one repetition. Again, up to you guys. We can just do, if we want to, the same thing all the way down. So really simple and basic. Just for the sake of this video, I'm just going to copy and paste my own work all the way down. Okay, then in regression, we already know that we can increase the weight, so I'm just going to go decrease the weight. Okay, again, the same all the way down. Doesn't need to be particularly fancy here, guys. And then again, roughly 3 teaching points down here. So just for the sake of time in this video, I'm not going to type these in here. Obviously, you've got teaching points there in the instructing gym-based exercise manual, so you can use all of those. Right, so now we're getting on to our body weight and abdominal exercises. So the first thing we need to do is we need to plan a body weight exercise. So we have a choice, if we look at our list, of a back raise, an abdominal curl, a squat, a lunge, a push up, or a chin up. So we have to do these 2. Okay, so then we've got 1 to choose from these 4. So chin ups, push ups, lunges, and squats. So let's have a look what fits our program. So we've got a deadlift, we've got a leg press, we could use a lunge here. We've only got one exercise that really works the chest, so a push-up would be good. So any of those would work pretty well. I'm going to go for a lunge into this program because I like a good single leg kind of exercise. And again, I'm just going to go for the same set and rep scheme. Don't need to do anything too fancy at this set point. 60 seconds rest. There we go. Intensity. Now, nobody's going to know their 1 rep max for a body weight lunge, so I'm just going to use 6 to a 7 on the RPE scale. Now, we know a lunge works primarily the quadriceps, so I'm going to choose another exercise as my alternative. I could do a squat, because what is a lunge if it's not just a single leg squat? Progression, well, I'm going to increase the reps. I'm going to decrease the reps. We may also do something called increasing or decreasing the leverage as well, which you should have known in your practical. So teaching points, again, you just need to pop some teaching points for your lunge in there. Now, the other two exercises we've got are the ab curl and the back raise. Again, we are just going to go with the same set and rep scheme in here. And we're going to go for the same intensity. Okay, so an alternative to an ab curl is going to be the ab machine. The back raise is going to be the back machine. Okay, right, so this one we're going to go increase the leverage, because we're going to go arms, we're going to change the position of our arms to make the exercise harder or easier. And we're going to decrease the lever for our regressions. Okay, and then again, we're just going to pop some teaching points in there. Okay, so that's the main part of our session done. So now we're going to plan a cool down. So cool down is going to be our third and final piece of cardiovascular kit. Now, if you remember, we've used our rowing machine and we've used our cross trainer. So if we look back to our list here, we see we've got the upright bike, the treadmill, the rowing machine, and the cross trainer. So our last one that we can really use here is either the upright cycle or the treadmill. So I'm going to use the treadmill here. For my cool down. Now for my treadmill, I'm going to just plan 5 minutes, and now cool down, warm up. So the cool down should be the opposite to a warm up, or the reverse. So now I'm going to go from a 5 down to about 3 on that RPE scale. So we're winding that session down, bringing it to a close. Our alternative, I could use the bike. Again, it can be one that we've used already. As a progression, we might increase the time, and as a regression, we might decrease the time. And then again, for our teaching points, 3 teaching points relevant to our treadmill. Now, post-workout stretches. So here we want to do static stretches rather than dynamic stretches. But if we look, we've got the exact same table here. So I can just go back and list the same muscle groups that I have done for my warm-up. Give a little diagram of the stretch that you are going to do, and then we're going to go duration, intensity, alternative. Now there are 2 kinds of stretches we need to see at our level 2. We are going to do either a maintenance or a developmental stretch. So for gastrocnemius, we are going to do a maintenance stretch. So we are going to just do that as a 20-second hold. Now, hamstrings, we're going to do as a developmental stretch, and we're going to do that as a 15 seconds, increase in the ROM, plus a 15-second hold. Okay, now just to make this easy, I'm just going to copy and paste so that I got that for each one. Now, our intensity is going to be about a 6 RPE for each of those stretches. Okay, right. Alternatives to a static stretch. We've got some more advanced stretching, so we might do a PNF stretch. We might do some ballistic stretching. We might just do, we might actually even do maybe a little bit of dynamic stretching where needed. Here, and then progression and regression, the same as our warm-up, where we're going to increase or decrease the range of motion. So I'm just going to quickly try and do some little arrows here. One of them and one of them. And then just to really cheat a little bit here, I'm just going to go increase, decrease my range of motion, and then you're just going to pop some teaching points in here. And that's it, guys. So I've managed to kind of talk through that in 25 minutes, talking through every single exercise. So hopefully you guys will be able to get through that relatively quickly. So then the last little bit to finish this program card is we need to take one of our CV exercises, one of our resistance machine exercises, one of our free weights, and one of our body weights, and we're going to say how we would adapt that for young people, how we would adapt that for older people, and how we would develop that for pre and postnatal or antenatal and postnatal women. So what we need to do is we need to make sure we use one that we've planned in our program, and we need to describe how and why we would use that. So let's look at our CV first. So I'm going to look at my first CV, or our main CV, which is my rowing machine. So I'm going to pop that in there. I need to look at a resistance machine. Now I think we used a what did we use? A leg press, didn't we? We know we used a deadlift, and we used a lunge as our body weight. So then for in the young person, so I would say I would give lots of breaks, make it fun, make it a game. Like I said, we've got access to water and use different machines to break the session up. If I was training a leg press for a young person, I might focus on technique rather than load or weight. So we don't want them lifting as maximum heavy weight on the leg press because their bones are still developing. If I was going to do a deadlift for a young person, we might we've seen the blocks that we've got in the gym that we can raise the bar height to make form easier. But again, we're going to want to focus on form rather than technique. And if we did our lunge for our older adults, we might make sure that they use support, as older adults can struggle with balance as they get older. Okay, if we're going to use pre and postnatal clients, so we might go change to a leg extension as maybe more comfortable and safer for the client. All these kind of things, guys. So we want to sort of try and say how and why. And then that is it, guys. So, lots of good detail there, but relatively straightforward. Hopefully you should now be able to plan your program card for your level 2 practical exam. We need to make sure that this is done if it is not done already. As ever, guys, let me know if you need any help, and I'll see you on the other side. Cheers.